Education Services, and you are watching video number 1 of our new RTO Standards 2024 series. Now, what we're going to be doing on this series is we're basically going to be talking about the new draft standards. We're going to be breaking them down pretty much clause by clause, talking about how they impact your RTO, talking about some of the changes that you might want to make to your policies, procedures, operations, things like that. And the types, and I guess how some of these words and how some of these specific clauses, I think are going to be focused on in audits throughout 2024 and 2025. Now, the new standards don't technically come into effect until 1/1/25. However, I think that a lot of the things in the standards are going to start to be audited from the perspective of it tells us what the focus of the regulator is. It tells us where their key priority areas are. And so therefore, as a quality training organization, there are things that you want to start taking into account and building into the mix throughout 2024 so that you don't kind of hit your staff with everything on 1/1/25. It's really not a good way to go about it. I think this is a better way to kind of make your plans for 2024. All right, so we're going to be starting with standard 1.1. Similar to the old standards, the standard 1 does basically encompass all of training and assessment. So under the old standards, just to kind of give an overview, we had 8 standards in general. Standard 1 was very much focused on training and assessment. Standard 2 was kind of like the quality clause. Then we went into standard then we had like 4 was marketing, 5 was enrollment, 3 was, like credit transfers. It was a little bit random. USI, some stuff like that. Standard 6 was your complaint appeals. Standard 7 and 8 really related to like quality management sorts of things, fit and proper, financial viability, etc., etc. So under the new standards, we've got 4 standards. We've got 1 is training and assessment. We've got 2, which is fully focused on learner support, learner well-being. That's going to be a massive part. I think we've scheduled like 3 sessions for that, 3 videos for that. 100% see that blowing out into like 5 or 6 or 7 videos because there's so many changes I think that are going to follow from that. I think there's a lot that we need to be aware of. And I think that there does need to be like a really clear plan for your RTO for how you're going to adjust to this new requirement throughout the course of 2024 to be ready for it come 1/1/25. Okay, so we're dealing with standard 1.1, 1.2 today, which is all focused on training, which is nice because the RTO standards really haven't focused on training in a while. We got so worried about evidence of competency that the regulator went full ball and everyone really just focused on assessment for many, many years. And so now they did go and get feedback on these new standards. And a lot of people basically turned around and went, don't you think we should think about training? Because if we don't train, it makes assessment a hell of a lot harder, which is fair. So standard 1.1 says the training delivered is engaging and well-structured and enables learners to attain skills and knowledge consistent with the training product. So I think some of the keywords there are obviously that the training delivered is engaging, that it's well structured, and obviously that it enables learners to attain skills and knowledge consistent with the training product, which is going to filter in later on when we go into assessment, obviously. But those 2 words there, engaging and well structured, means 1, you have a plan for how your training is actually going to occur, which for some RTOs will be new. And it's engaging, which means that, good old, and I'm really sorry, I'm just going to pick a name out of a hat, Dave, good old Dave, who sits there and reads the PowerPoints in monotone and then answers students' questions like this. Dave's going to need some upskilling this year. Okay. Additionally, giving learners nothing but a shitty PDF to read is also not engaging. That's not engaging. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to sit there and read 1,000,000 pages. I mean, I'll sit there and read 1,000,000 pages, but I'm a loser. So most students don't want to do that. So we need to make training engaging again. I strongly recommend that you guys go back to my interview with Nick Thomas from earlier on. His favorite thing in the world is making quote unquote sexy training materials. So it's a really good interview. He's a very funny man. And I can see Nick being able to make engaging and well-structured training materials. I think there's a lot of people that are not capable of making structured and engaging training materials. And moreover, there are trainers that need some serious work with upskilling in order to become engaging. So this is where your PD planning is going to come into effect for 2024. Do we have engaging training materials? Do we have trainers who are capable of being engaging? Do we have a structure for our training materials? Or is our plan just to purchase some very generic resources, not contextualize them all, put them up on our LMS in a PDF form and hope for the best? There's other options, guys. Option number one, go and talk to Nick about making some sexy training materials. Number two, look, record a couple of videos. Guys, it's not hard. Look at me, okay? Look at this video. You're watching this video right now. This was not hard. This is not my actual background. This is not my house. I can't afford this, okay? Just jump in front of a video, get some of your engaging trainers, and start just recording like a couple of little videos here and there to like start to be able to pepper into things, right? Baby steps, okay? If you don't have Articulate, so if you are going to look at creating your own training materials, strongly recommend that you look at Articulate. It's a fantastic system. It does allow you to engage, to create like decently engaging materials. You can add videos into them really easily. You can avoid the death scroll kind of thing. You can put lots of interactions in there. There's huge amounts of content on YouTube, guys. Like have your trainers sit there and go and find those interesting videos like across everything, right? We're writing horticulture at the moment. There's some wicked videos about like horticulture, and they explain it in a really easy way to understand, and it looks beautiful, and they're happy to put it out there. And obviously you've got to make sure that you do the right thing and you say who it's from and everything like that, but there's lots of really good ways to create decently engaging training materials. Please stop putting up PDFs on your LMS. It's not training, guys. It's not training. It's not well structured. It's not engaging. Okay. Gripe number two. I had to pause. I don't know how that's going to turn out. Anyway. Gripe number two, guys, in relationship to training materials. I have forgotten it. I had to yell at my children. That's what happened. I forgot. We're going to move on. Okay, so training, engaging in well-structured materials, right? So when we say well-structured, that was the gripe that I had. Okay, when you're writing training materials, the structure that you should use for writing your training materials is not based on the performance criteria. There are rare occasions where it might make sense to write things based on the performance criteria. However, in general, please stop writing your training materials of, I'm going to go into ChatGPT, I'm going to put in this PC, and I'm going to ask it to spit out 4 paragraphs about that PC, okay? I've seen it. I know when I'm looking at it. It's not the right way to go about it. What you actually need to do in order to make training that is well structured is you actually need to map the unit. This is the same way that we do our assessments here at Anawaya, is we actually look at how that skill is done in the workplace, okay? So you've got to map out how the unit makes a logical sense, right? From beginning to end of whatever that task is. Once you've put that into a logical sense, that's what you then need to train on. And then you can put in some of the additional underlying things, like if there's underlying supporting knowledge. So generally this is the way that I do assessments, and it's the best, and we do it the same way when we're doing training materials as well. We don't do training materials very often, but for our high-end clients, we do training materials because we've got to make sure the training materials match our beautiful assessments. So I look at the unit of competency. I work out how you actually do the thing in the real business world. I then look at the knowledge. So I've got this structure of like how I actually do this thing. So this is stage one of the project. Like this is stage one of how you do that thing. This is the second step in how you do that thing. This is the third step in how you do that thing. Then I look at all of the knowledge and then I go, okay, well, that knowledge fits up there and that knowledge fits up there and that knowledge fits there. You really need to understand that before you go into that. And then there might be stuff left over, like, you know, generally legislation is one of the ones and stuff like that. You can either chuck that at the beginning or you can chuck that at the end, okay? I prefer to chuck that at the end, mainly because it's boring as batshit. And so therefore, as far as like engaging the learner and really getting them into the training, like I like to hit them up first thing where possible with like, okay, this is what it's all about. This is how you go about doing this thing. This is how you prepare for this thing. This is how you then do this thing. This is then how you need to like put stuff away that you used for this thing, like all of that sort of stuff, right? Stop writing your training materials with ChatGPT, just going, here's the PC, please write 4 paragraphs about this. Okay? 1, we know what ChatGPT looks like. Okay? It's .8. Okay? And it's not engaging. All right? We are training providers, and so please take some time to actually have good training. Is my feedback on that, okay? So engaging and well-structured, that's like the whole, I'm actually gonna leave it at that. That's the whole point of this video. It's all we're gonna talk about today is training needs to be engaging and it needs to be well-structured. So 1, you need to have a plan to get engaging training materials, well-structured and engaging training materials. And 2, you need to have a plan to have engaging and well-structured trainers. Number 1 is probably going to be easier than number 2 for that. There's some amazing trainers out there. To all of you trainers watching this video, I do bag you at times. You're a pain in the ass though, but we love you. You're so necessary for industry and you determine the quality of the training product. Some of you are amazing. Some of you are brilliant, and I could sit and listen to you for hours, and I have. Pat Donnelly, talking to you right now. I could sit and listen to you for hours. However, some of you, who I will not name, I don't understand what you're saying. You talk way too much about your own experiences and less about the experiences of your learners. And it's not engaging. So that's kind of what we need to be focusing on this year. So if you're a trainer, really start to think about like how much of what you're doing is training and how much of what you're doing is assessment. If you are an RTO owner, do you have training materials? Is there any structure to them? Are they actually engaging? Are you, God forbid, putting your PDFs up on an LMS and saying that this is training? I think we are going to see a return to actually auditing of training materials in 2024, which we really haven't seen. Like I've seen them in maybe like 1 or 2 of the TAC audits, but I really haven't seen a focus on that from the regulator themselves. But I do think we are going to see that. I think particularly we're going to see that where the needs of the cohort are higher. So where we have, for example, job seekers, where we have under 18 learners, where we have learners that have English as a second language, where we have learners who, potentially don't have experience in the industry. I think all of these cohorts are going to need a lot more support. I think we know they need more support, and I think that's why we're seeing it in the standards. And I think that having training materials to actually support them is going to be a big part of the requirements for 2024. And that's it, guys. That's all I have for today. We're going to continue on in our next video with training as well. And we're going to talk more about 1.1C, which is training, instruction, and pace to support learners to progress, providing sufficient time, instruction, practice, feedback, and assessment. I'm going to try and clarify what some of those words mean. And then we will hopefully maybe go into 1.2, which is all about industry engagement. So that has not left. The old 1.5, 1.6 is now 1.2. But 1.1 is a big one. It really is focusing on training. I know a lot of us in the consulting world are excited to see this because we feel it's a return back to looking at and considering quality of RTOs, which is really nice to see. And that's it from me, guys. Like, subscribe, do all of those good things. We've got a huge amount of videos coming out in this series. Hopefully you'll find them helpful. If you can't be bothered writing your new policies and procedures, which, you know, I got to be honest, I loved doing it, but I'm a bit of a bookwormy loser. So if you don't feel like doing that because you're too busy running your actual RTO, by all means, reach out to us and we can work with you to write a policy set for you and for your RTO. And it will be compliant to the old standards and it's mapped to the new standards. And we can map it to the ESOL standards and we can map it to the funding requirements. I feel a little bit like Sam I am at the moment. So if you would like to do that and have us do that for you, because God knows RTOs are busy enough and you guys are going to be busy developing all your new training materials this year, you can contact us on lauren@anawaya.org or laura@anawaya.org, and either myself or the lovely Laura be more than happy to talk you through that process and give you some help and support in that area. My name is Lauren Hollows for Anawaya Education Services. Guys, as usual, like, subscribe. Feel free to disagree, but do so respectfully. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you at the next one. This is Lauren Hollows for Anawaya Education Services.